Everybody, this is going to be a video of the refresher I did on my LT1 motor that's actually going in that bad boy. So this is going to be kind of overall what I did, what I found, different things that I found working on that LT1 motor, because that's something that was completely new to me. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Learned a lot of things, and let's go. So I started pulling apart the front of the motor. Obviously, you got to get the cap off to figure out exactly which type of cap this is. Like, there's two different style of rotors for these. So I'm gonna get this off and get this pulled off. But I got the water pump off, which I'm glad I decided to replace that bad boy. There's someone had replaced it at one time, so there's quite a bit of red RTV on there. So I'll get all that up, clean all that up. Obviously, new one of them bad boys is coming. We're gonna get that painted up black. Replace the sensor and the thermostat. I get this bad boy off, take pictures of everything. I did find, so there is this one vacuum line that goes here, it goes to the bottom of the distributor, and then I found this bad boy tucked down below. That also goes to the distributor. So I'm kind of thinking maybe it goes there. I'm gonna have to pull up a diagram and figure out where those vacuum lines go. That way I can plug that in, because that looks important. So keep pulling, getting this baby cleaned up. Yeah, one other thing, the water pump drive seal, this bad boy right here, I had to order that because I feel like that's something that should be replaced while I have all of this off. Just little things, they all add up. All right, so one thing I am gonna need to do, just for my own sanity, so I don't get anything mixed up, is I'm gonna draw me a little picture of the cap here, put top at the top, and I'm gonna lay out my firing order, just so that way I don't get mixed up and I don't mess anything up, because that's never fun. So we got 5, 3, 7, 1. And 4, 6, 8, 2. Easy as that, just so that way when I put it back together, and then we got coil up top. Easy peasy. I gotta pop these bolts off. This has to come off. Got one more bolt down in the bottom holding it in. We'll get this popped off, and then we'll get this thing slid out. And I'm probably gonna have to rotate the crank, because this tab's gonna be up and it's probably not gonna clear. So, you know, it's always fun. Never easy. And on this part before we get started, because that way if anyone has any questions. So what I'm gonna be using to replace all this stuff is all of this loom. I got all this stuff off of Amazon. This is like for cable management for like telecom stuff. It just works great. It looks super clean, and it's no more flammable than this plastic stuff is. Got some good Scotch electrical tape, because the cheap stuff flags where it pulls up after you let it go, and then a lighter and a razor knife. So I think that's all I'm gonna need to get this stuff cut off, and then get this stuff cut. I'm gonna melt the edges, that way nothing frays, and then I'll tape all my transitions, which you'll see as I go. So let's get into it. All right, well, I got this side done. I decided against doing everything back on the transmission because you're not going to see anything. So I'll just stop it there at the firewall. But I just think that looks so much better than that corrugated stuff. I went and rewrapped all of these. I got even the smaller size for the temp sensor, mass airflow sensor. So that's all tied in. I just threw some zip ties on it to clean it up at the different separations points. And now I'll get this 1 inch pulled off and start going that way on all the main harness. Get that side cleaned up and everything that's going to go through the firewall in the same stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just little stuff like that. I think definitely dresses it up, makes it look way cleaner. What do you think? Here we go. We got ourselves some new parts. Got ourselves a new alternator, water pump. There's the old water pump. There's the new one. So let's get this stuff cleaned up and put on there, and let's get this bad boy painted and get this bad boy thrown out of here. I just figured I would pop the this is the old thermostat, which it doesn't look bad. I'm sure it works great, but I did get a brand new thermostat and a new gasket, and I debated on replacing this water pump. I know these LT motors are known and notorious for their water pumps going bad. Here's the new one. You can see down in there. Spin that bad boy with my fingers, no problem. Here's the old one. Here's why you replace these wear items. Yes, it's extra money, but how much is your time worth? It's worth a ton. I'll answer that question for you. Here's the old one. It will not spin. This water pump seized. So, yeah, maybe it would break free when I started the car, but who knows? I mean, it could break this. It could break the shaft on the motor. I mean, a whole bunch of different things. I'm going to pull this cover off and see how bad the impeller is, because, I mean, who knows? This water pump is trash, and that could have ate my brand new distributor and a whole bunch of other stuff on this LT motor. So just take the time. It's an expensive water pump, but I mean, having it in the truck and having to redo all this would have eaten so much more time and cost me so much more in the long run. So I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I noticed that and checked it. All right, so here we go. I just want to do a quick shout out to Summit Racing, because I ordered this stuff the beginning of the week and it came lickety split. I think I got like 3-day shipping. So thanks again to Summit, but here's what we were really waiting for. So I did a bunch of research. I heard good, bad, ugly. Everyone said the Opti sensor for the OptiSpark is what goes bad, and you want the Mitsubishi, and I read a bunch of stuff on forums. So this is not the Mitsubishi sensor, but it had really good reviews, and everybody on the forums that had used them, I only saw one bad review. And to be honest, I think possibly, fella, you may not have brought your motor back up to top dead center, judging by your comments. I think that might be why you had your issue when you put this on. But here it is, a whole new unit. So it's cap rotor, so it means the whole distributor. I do have my old one, and it does look like my old one is the factory GM one, which a lot of people also said, just keep it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild it. So I'm going to put a new cap and rotor on it, and then do the Permatex on the cap, which I'm also going to do with this one. That's what a lot of people said. Put the Permatex on the cap. Also use Loctite on all the hardware inside. They said that's usually the two only things that you'll have issues with. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do that to this brand new one. And then I'm also going to rebuild my old one just so I have it, because supposedly it has the better optical illusion sensor. So, but yeah, shout out to Summit. I'm glad we got these parts. Now let's get back to it. Bring in here, we got our brand new alternator. Everything's all painted up. I cleaned it up. I went ahead and masked everything, all the contacts, all the fans and all that jazz, all that masked, because I didn't want to have, you know, any issues. Same thing on the inside, I masked that. But she's all black, looking good. And then the water pump is all gloss black as well. I went ahead and cleaned up the little bleeder up there, and then taped off all the edges, just hopefully not have any issues. But we're gonna get the sensor in. I got a new thermostat, new gasket. I ended up getting a default open, so that's good. And yeah, pushing forward, let's go. We're gonna get started on pulling these seals and getting all this, but we wanted to get the motor top dead center, and completely by chance, it was like, what, 2 degrees out probably. I mean, both valves were relaxed on number 1 and it was lined up, and I was like, man, this can't be, but it was. So there is the notch that goes into the cam, and there's a number 1 on the OptiSpark. So this is how I pulled it out. So all we did was go ahead and line it up the rest of the way, made sure both these rockers arms are nice and relaxed, looked at everything else and lined it up. So I'm very confident we can pull the spark plug out. We'll double check that, but it's top dead center on 1. So we're gonna get going on these seals. Here we go. All right, so pull out the old number 1 on the small block here and get you shine a little light on the situation. It's there. Oh, I see a piston. So we'll rock it, make sure we're at top dead, then leave it alone, put it back together. In here, I'm gonna get the valve cover back on so we don't drop anything in there. Getting the puller put on there, but I couldn't use the factory bolts because they're too short. So we can grab some 3/8 hardware, tighten those nuts up to where it's onto the shoulder so I don't have to worry about the threads catching inside there. And then we'll get that thing popped out of there. So we had to stop and regroup. Obviously, you can see we put puller up, showed you how we did that. But these LT1s are a little bit different, and I knew this because I watched a video on it, but I don't know why I forgot. So you actually have to put the bolt back in, and you have to push off the bolt to get it to pull through. It's not like a normal small block Chevy. So we got the bolt back in. We got it, I don't know, 3/4 of the way off right now. So we just had to readjust the bolt because you're pushing off of that crank. So bolts readjusted, get it back on there, get this thing the rest of the way off. So I didn't video it, but the way they showed to pull this here seal, they showed to drill a hole. So we drilled a hole and then put a screw in it. And then all you do is take your little pry bar here and ba-doop. Bad boy pops right off. And as you can see, oop, come on, focus, focus. I didn't go too deep. I went just deep enough. I stopped as soon as it popped through. This is like a 2-layer gasket. So as soon as I went through, I stopped, then screwed that in. So, I mean, you can see, well, the one guy I saw on YouTube, it looked like he drilled into that case, which, I mean, I don't think it really honestly matters. So we'll get the new seal on here and keep pushing forward. I had to go inside and steal one of my kids' markers. Don't worry, I'll be putting it back. So this seal, you can see, it has an outer seal and an inner seal. And so what I saw on the internet is that you slide the seal over a pin and then it keeps it from pushing the wrong direction. And then you just slide it over the shaft and tap it home. So we're gonna get that bad boy out of there and go for it. So after farting around with the pin idea, you can just use the I don't know, drive the shaft coupler that goes from the timing set out to the water pump. I ended up just sliding the seal on that, and that obviously is the same diameter as the inside. So now I'll just slide it off after wasting a half an hour of my life trying to make sure I had the right highlighter that I didn't have and the kids one that didn't line up. So now here we go, step 14. All right, so here's where we're at. 3 brand new seals all lubed up, and I went and cleaned the bottom of that guy, took a little red Scotch-Brite and just cleaned up that whole edge that's going to be going into the seal. So we're going to get this back on and then keep pushing forward, getting this thing back together. Water pump in here, new temp sensor in, thermostat's in, that's all tightened up, painted it, and RTV's on. Also got a bunch of people in the shop today, so got the RTV on the motor and new Felpro gaskets. So we'll get this baby thrown on and snugged up. Well, there we go. We got all the accessories on, minus power steering pump. I didn't want it on there leaking around. I didn't say anything, but new OptiSpark is on. Obviously, we had to get that on before we put the balancer back on and that front pulley. We got everything hooked up that can hooked up with all the new sensors. Figured out where all the wiring that's not hooked up, where it all goes. So we're getting super close. Also had to figure out, when I got this, it didn't have any of the accessories on it. The guy I got it from was actually had it set up to run an old style GM alternator. So he had changed some of the wiring. So we got that figured out. I'm going to have to make a new pigtail for this, down starter and all that jazz. Not a big deal. But yeah, we're definitely one step closer, and the thing looks so much better all black. I don't know, what do you think?